Hello and welcome, fellow Hero Forgers. Kitbashing is out. This is a new revolutionary system for pro subscribers designed to allow greater customization than has ever before been possible in Hero Forge. Kitbashing introduces not only near limitless posing for your mini, but also the ability to rescale and even reshape the model itself. On top of that, the system allows you to spawn in items at will, which can also be scaled and twisted to your liking before you position it. And yes, this time without the need for hidden extra arms inside the model. In this video, we will be showing you how the system works and some tricks to get you started. But before we get into it, make sure to join the official Hero Forge Discord server with the link in the description below. So, let's start with the basics. Kitbashing can be found on the left side of your screen here. Then you'll have a simple menu with three options: Add, Edit and Check. If we go into Add, we will open up access to almost every single asset available in Hero Forge, from gear to clothing to tails to hairstyles and so on. Clicking on any one of these will spawn them, and from there you can reposition it, pose it and scale it in any way you like. You can also click and drag the item out of the menu and it will spawn where you dragged it. However, let's not get too hooked on adding items just yet, we'll get more in depth on that a little later on in this video. For now, let's move on to Edit. This is the actual main kitbashing menu, where you will be able to access your model as well as any items added with kitbashing. Selecting the character itself will give you a red posing indicator allowing you to move and scale the character at will. However, it will also create a bunch of these little joints on your model. Selecting any one of these individually will give you access to edit just that part of the model and anything attached to it. For example, if you scale up a hand, all fingers and anything in that hand will be scaled up with it, but scaling down a foot will not change the size of the entire leg. With this system, posing in Hero Forge is now almost entirely without limit. Regardless of which initial pose you selected, you now have full customization of every part of the model, and yes, that includes the legs and the feet. How you use this is entirely up to you. Maybe you like to make realistic models, in which case you might only make minor posing edits or slightly resizing models. Or maybe you like to create spaghetti monsters, in which case you can now stretch out arms anywhere you like, shrink down necks if you want hunched over orcs, or elongate and curl fingers if you're trying to make nightmare fuel. Either way, the sky is the limit with this. Now, obviously, if you want to print your models, you can imagine that this system, if taken to its extremes, may cause some trouble. And that is what the third option here is for: Check. It will open a simple menu that will tell you which parts of your model work and which ones don't. And from here you can adjust it if necessary to make sure that your model is indeed printable. Keep in mind that items on Hero Forge are pretty high detail, so scaling them down can make them unprintable pretty quickly. There is a good way to avoid this, however, which is making sure that scaled down items are placed flush against something to ensure that they don't have any thin parts sticking out that may break off in shipping. And in case you're worried that the system will not pick up anything, Hero Forge will also be manually double checking all orders of physical minis that include kitbashing, and will email you if anything unprintable slips through the automated checking system. But anyway, for now, let's get back to the tutorial. Now, you have just had the basics of what kitbashing can do, so let's get a little more in depth on how you use it. Let's start with clearing up something simple. Items added with kitbashing and normal Hero Forge items are not in the same category. Ordinary items added from the gear menu will not be in the kitbashing menu for advanced adjustments, even though the original character model itself is. But don't worry, if you're one of those people who really wants to play with resizing or reshaping weapons, like stacking several swords on top of each other, you can simply add those swords with kitbashing rather than the usual gear menu. But, and I hear you ask, won't that mean that there is just a floating sword here that gets left behind when you repose the model? No. This is where the snap option comes in very handy. Every single time you spawn an item with kitbashing, you will have the option to snap it onto the model. So if you, for example, add a sword and snap it onto the hand, it will now remain attached to that part of the model unless you choose to unsnap it. It doesn't matter how you repose the model, it doesn't even matter if you change the pose altogether, it still stays where it is. And if you want to make sure that the hilt sits right in the hand, no problem, just go back into the edit menu for the character, grab these finger joints one by one, and then pose them around the sword's handle like this. Perfect. However, snapping is only the first of several options available to you when you select something with kitbashing. If you look towards the bottom right of your screen, you will find the snap option itself highlighted when you spawn an item. Right next to it is Scale, Rotate and Translate. Whether you're adjusting the model or the added items, these are the options that you will be actively flicking through when you decide whether you want to resize something or move it around. As mentioned, snapping will allow you to quickly drag an item across the screen and attach it to something, whereas scaling allows you to reshape it and resize size it. How exactly scaling interacts with an item depends on the item and also which part of it you have selected, but if we take a simple sword, you will find that the middle option scales the entire item up. However, if all you want to do is flatten and make it sharper, for example, you can scale it from the horizontal angle instead and squish it down. Rotating, on the other hand, is a bit more straightforward. Once you've selected it, you get this little football of circles that you can drag to repose it in any direction you want. Finally, translate is perhaps the easiest one, as it simply allows you to reliably move an item across the screen at simple 90-degree angles. By now, you may be asking, are there sliders for this? Yes, there are sliders. To access them, you need to move back into the edit menu, select the specific item you want to adjust from the Kitbashing menu, and then click the old reliable cogwheel. This will open a simple slider menu, but only for the currently selected item. At the bottom of this, you'll also find another 4 options. Now these are important: duplicate, flip, detach, and delete. These literally do exactly what you would assume them to do. Deleting will, shocker, delete something. Detaching will unsnap an item from where it's snapped onto. And flipping will give you a mirrored version of your current item. But perhaps the most useful one of these is duplicate, as it simply copies an item that you may, for example, already have colored or reshaped in a very specific way. As far as added items are concerned, you will also notice that a lot of them possess similar selectable joins as the character model itself does. And some of these have so many that at first it may seem a little bit overwhelming. Now, while this here might look daunting to begin with, this also means that with certain items you can enhance bits you like or remove bits that you don't like, such as downscaling everything except the arm of a piece of clothing to layer it with another chest piece. This kind of layering is undeniably tricky at first, but for all the perfectionists who have very specific clothes and armor sets in mind for their original characters, Kitbashing will make that level of personalization possible. Alright, that is a lot of rapid fire information. So let's take a step back for a moment and look at the broader implications of this system. If you are a Hero Forger veteran, you likely know that the community has over the year invented a dozen crazy tricks to enhance their models. Hiding extra arms with items inside models, using tails and wings to build custom clothing, layering double models and syncing up their posing to be able to stack items on top of each other, etc. The list goes on. With Kitbashing, none of these things will technically be necessary anymore. You don't need to hide an extra arm for your character to wear a medal if you can simply spawn in a medal and snap it onto a character's torso. You don't need to use tails to create a custom skirt if you can spawn in any skirt and scale it to perfection around your character's legs. You don't even need to layer 2 models for double hairstyles anymore because you can simply spawn in a second hairstyle. And this is not even to mention the potential that Kitbashing brings in finding new ways to use old items. What's to say that your favorite shoulder pad can't now become a knee pad or elbow protection? What's to say that you can't shrink down a sword and apply it to a character's wrist if you like creating edgy assassins? What's to say that the veterinarian's recovery cone can't be shrunk down and turned into a plate courgette for your medieval knight? Now, personally, I recommend learning Kitbashing through baby steps. Take a model that you already consider to be mostly finished and try initially using Kitbashing to implement small changes. Add a couple of items as decorations, maybe shrink down a cool detailed shield to create an insignia or an amulet, adjust a little bit of posing, maybe extend or shorten some limbs here or there. By doing it this way, you can slowly work your way up towards some of the more advanced tricks. But if you trust yourself to go all in, then you can start twisting and morphing models before you've even added a speck of color. As always with Hero Forge, the only real limitation is our own creativity, and now with this system that is more true than ever before. However, with all this said, please bear in mind that Kitbashing is a massive addition to Hero Forge, and the team plans to continuously build on, improve and iterate on the system even after its launch. This means that certain things in this video may change slightly and that new features and quality of life updates are likely to release over time. Thank you for watching. I hope that this tutorial will prove useful for you in starting out with Kitbashing, but again, I would also recommend joining the official Hero Forge Discord server with the link below. There you will find a massive community of like-minded forgers who will also be grappling with this new system as it comes out, and there will be plenty of tips and tricks to go around. Now, until next time, farewell.